All right, let's dive in. So Governor Ferguson, still waiting on him to sign the Washington State Millionaires Tax, Senate Bill 6346. Should be happening any day now. It was delivered to his office last Friday, the 13th. A bit ominous, right? Following passage by the Senate 2 days prior. He has by law 20 days from delivery to act on the bill. So it could be any day. It could also be, up until the very end, April the 2nd. Who knows if he's going to veto any line items in that, if he's going to have any comments or just kind of give it a rubber stamp as is. Remember, the final version that passed did not include nearly the level of tax relief that he originally said, I won't sign an income tax. He never called it that. I won't sign the millionaire's tax unless it includes this much tax relief for small business and this much for working families. And um, it came up rather short of his what he said he would stand for. We'll see what he has to say. But this again is a tax that is projected to bring in anywhere from 3 to maybe $4 billion a year to fund education, state services, some tax breaks for business, and then the rest of it into the general fund. And the majority party can use it for whatever they then choose. Today, I did get a chance to interview Senate Minority Leader John Braun and Senator Chris Gildon of Puyallup. As I mentioned, Senator Gildon is the ranking minority member on the Senate budget. They delivered last year in the longer session a no new taxes balanced budget that really got nowhere with the majority, unfortunately, but it's something he's pretty passionate about. Senator Braun told me actually today that he anticipates one or more legal challenges and probably a citizen initiative. We're still waiting to hear something on that, but he says it's all going to take time to play out. So here's part of the conversation today with Senate Minority Leader John Braun.
On the legislative majority leaders and the speaker. I fully expect there to be at least one. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple legal challenges. And the legalities this are very, very obvious to anyone who wants to take the time to read the Constitution. But I think they believe they have an opening because of the nature of the state Supreme Court. But in no case does any kind of legal action happen very fast. That's going to take a year, I would think minimum, maybe 2 years. The precedent is clear, so the lower courts are obliged, as I understand it, to follow the precedent. So I think we probably win early, but the real test is with the state Supreme Court. So I'm a little nervous that if they sue and the news gets out they won at the local level, people will think, oh, the pressure's off, but that's just the first round. And there is a lot of talk out there. I'm not personally involved a lot in it, but about an initiative. I expect one in the next 2 years. I don't know whether it'll be this year or next year. The people are really worked up about this. Not the people paying the tax. The people who are paying the tax are also worked up about it, but they're just making plans to leave the state. Everybody else who may not pay the tax immediately is pretty pissed. At least the ones I talk to are pretty upset about it. In my neck of the woods, I haven't talked to a single person that's happy about this, and I've talked to a lot of them that are just downright mad about it.
So then Senator Gildon brought up the Sonics. There have been rumors around here for years that the NBA might bring the team back to Seattle. And as we reported about a month ago, Governor Ferguson's team was urged to prep him in early February for a meeting with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. At the time, Ferguson was reportedly urged to prepare to discuss concerns over, you can see here, the high cost of maintaining a team, the impact of employer layoffs, i.e., fewer employees equals fewer ticket sales for the team, and challenges posed by the millionaires tax on recruiting top players. They also just overall, I guess this was a reference to the tax climate here in the state of Washington, whether Seattle remains an attractive and investor friendly environment. So that's what happened last month. Who knows what really happened behind closed doors in that conversation with the NBA commissioner and some of Governor Ferguson's leadership. And if they said, dude, you pass this thing, we're not bringing a team here, or they said, go ahead and pass it, just publicly, we have to resist. Who knows what that conversation really what really came from that conversation. I guess we'll find out in short order. But Senator Gildon had something to say about this today.
I mean, this has a direct effect on that because states like Texas and Florida that do not have an income tax have a built-in advantage over states that do have an income tax, such as California and New York. I wouldn't say so much as if the team comes here, but I would say which players decide to come to that particular team, right? Because almost all of those players are going to make north of $1 million and they're going to be subject to the income tax and they're going to be calculating what their net income is going to be. And if they're, paying a lot of, 10% tax, they're going to make some choices about that. So I would say, you were talking about the tax layering effect of the B&O tax, the income tax, the sales tax, the property tax, all of the taxes that we have that layer one on top of another. And just whether you're talking about business or basketball, tax policy matters.
I also today had the opportunity to interview Senator Shelley Short of Addy about the income tax and concerns from her constituents in the 7th district, which is in that northeast corner of our state. If you don't get there, a lot of people go there for, Chelan County. It's also Okanagan, Stevens, Ferry County. She's got 7 counties that kind of overlap pieces of those counties in her district. So it's a rather large area, a lot of rural constituents in that area, rural hospitals, a lot of agricultural interests. So she has a different perspective on the impacts of this income tax for her district.
The agricultural community for sure, small businesses, construction companies. I think of our manufacturers, the more that they continue to pile on taxes and regulations and everything else, it makes it harder and harder for manufacturers to step up and to maybe, put that next shift into place, which provides jobs in our communities. You look at the tax structure, but you look at our energy structure too. If you're a manufacturer that uses a lot of electricity to importantly manufacture something we need, those jobs are all at risk. The money that they make is considered income, personal income, in an S corp or an LLC. And so when you start looking at that income, now that income could be saved to construct the next house or buy the next land, or the things that builders have to do up front before they can build or sell a home. So I think that is where I really see significant concern.
So once this bill is signed into law by the governor, we're going to wait to find out then who will be launching the legal challenge, where, what part of the state that's going to be coming from. Of course, which court it goes through. The court process, is always really important in whether you think you're going to get a favorable ruling from a more conservative minded court, or if they're going to just launch from Thurston County and go from there. Obviously, state Supreme Court is where this thing's going to end up eventually. And then we're waiting to find out if, in fact, a citizen initiative will be launched. My sources tell me we're working on it, but we can't release anything at this point. So we don't know. And whether or not that will happen, as Senator Braun was suggesting, if that's going to happen this year, while there's momentum and the public is so outraged over the passage of this, or if it makes sense to kind of wait till next year while legal things are already underway, and then you've got time to gather signatures. Remember, we've already got 2 initiatives going to be on the November ballot, the restoration of parental rights and protecting girls in sports. So we'll wait to see if it makes sense to capitalize now on the momentum or wait until next year when there's not so much clutter going on. And it's also not, busy election year. So we're on top of it, and I'm in close contact with the folks in the know.